It's Rashid Shaheed. With the seam, Shaheed breaks through. Still going. A flag flies. Shaheed's going to take it all the way. Let's see if it stands. It's a 95-yard return if it holds to start the game.
Hasn't played a ton today. Now it's like go out there and save our season.
1st and 10.
They're going after him.
Going for the end zone over the shoulder. Oh, Mims hauls it in.
Anderson coming off the edge. May steps into it, takes a shot downfield, and caught for the touchdown. Kayshon Boutte. Wow.
The man in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space, in all kinds of trouble, put it up for grabs in the end zone. He got it for the touchdown. They've done it again.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. Wow, boys, what a divisional round weekend. Absolutely insane games, all four of them. Brad, can you believe the quality of football we've just seen this weekend?
Mate, I was buzzing after this last game today. What a way to go out for the weekend and into the conference championships. It was awesome.
I agree. Nick, I know it's one game's a bit of a downer for you, but the other three obviously were sensational.
Yeah, well, it got kicked off with that first game, which was really the best game of the lot. People would probably argue, or you could even say the last one. It was really bookended. So, yeah, sets up an interesting week this week. Obviously, we'll get into obviously the sad part about that first game, but yeah, there'll be plenty of controversy about that. I'm interested to see if Brad knows what happened and how it happened as well. I don't know if he knows. He's not a social media guy, so
No, I don't think I do.
We'll see. We'll
see.
We'll get into that one later. We've got heaps to go through. Obviously, there's reactions from Aussie fans all around the country, from the NFL fans down under Facebook group, as well as we've started using or posting in the NFL Australia and New Zealand Facebook group. And of course, on our own socials at G'day Gridiron, everywhere, Facebook and Instagram. Reactions are plenty to go through today for all four of those games, as well as our thoughts and opinions on just how phenomenal those games are and what it means for conference weekend. We've also got a little bit of an update about our tipping comp for the playoffs, which is happening right now. So I thought we would jump into that, get that out of the way before I forget again, because I am amazing for doing that. So I'll bring it up real quickly. And who should be right at the top this week? Our old mate Basilenka, who won our season-long tipping comp. He is currently tied, technically, on points, but of course there's that pesky margin score. He's gone for a much lower score. He's ended up with a 4-point margin out of all of that. Followed up by Matt T20, who's obviously got a 7. And then you can see the others there who are a little bit further afield in the double digits. Now, I would say any of those people on 9 points right now could easily take this over the next 3 games. Watch those margins. Watch them. Because you really have to start thinking about it. You have to get the pick right and get that margin right. For instance, this weekend's game was that first game, Broncos-Bills. No, which one was it? Yes.
Yeah, it was Broncos-Bills.
Now, I picked the Bills to win with a margin of just 3 points, and it ended up being 4 to the Broncos. No, I had 4 points to the Bills. It ended up being 3 to the Broncos, which means that my margin for that game was 7 points because I was the wrong way. So you have to watch where your margins end up because they still do count to your total score, even if you don't get that game right. So, yeah, I would say anyone else there, but that's pretty close. 6 people on 9 points. A whole bunch of people on 8 after that. One prize only. $50 gift card for US Sports HQ. We're going to see if Basilenka can do the double for the year, eh, boys?
That would be an amazing feat. Hats off to him if he does it, especially with that point differential. Of course, it came down to the point differential in the regular season when he won the title. So if it comes down to that again, geez, that's some good picking.
It is. Certainly is. Righto, so that's the tipping comp, righto? That's that out of the way. I can't forget this week. Now, let's get into some reactions from all around Australia to these games. I've got some more generic reactions that I'll probably read at the top here, just based on all the games. Some people just put some more generic stuff in there because they're obviously fans of football in general, and they went and just sort of threw up some thoughts for us. Chris McCauley basically said 2 OTs and 2 floggings. Thinks the Bills were hard done by, but they put themselves in that position. Looks like a Seattle Patriots Super Bowl for him, unless the Rams improve, of course. Broncos are done by a miracle. Yes, we'll get into that in a bit. And old mate Damien Firth, so hoping not for a Rams-Pats Super Bowl. Would like Rams Denver. Adelina says the 2 games that went into OT certainly felt like playoff footy. Loved it. Cannot agree more. Mark Webber. Whoa, I wonder if that's the Mark Webber.
Yes.
Australian F1 champion. That'd be amazing. Absolutely love them all. The games have definitely been on point. Trace Hawkins said the only disappointment was the Niners game. I thought it would be closer, but Seahawks are going to be tough to beat. And John Weiss says the Super Bowl is next week. Seattle v Rams. You know what? I couldn't agree with that sentiment more. So that's some more generic ones, boys. Obviously, we talked about it. We've said it already. The weekend was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was, and it's good to see people just loving NFL football, and this is the week that kind of just showcased it all. And I don't know if that next week is the Super Bowl. I mean, New England kind of turned my head around this week in terms of just what I thought of them. They put together a decent showing. So, and the way they played, I think I'd probably give them the edge over one of those other 2 teams.
Oh, there we go.
I hope you're right.
All right. Well, I thought we would start off with the last game that got played, the game this afternoon, Rams versus Bears. An absolutely phenomenal matchup played in the snow in Chicago. The Rams come out winners in overtime, where both teams ended up possessing the ball. The Rams get it back just to kick a field goal to finally win 20-17. The thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis, puts one right through the middle of the uprights to absolutely secure it, proving that rookie kickers can actually win under pressure. What a fantastic game, Brad. I could not believe the ups and downs and just the pure cinema that we saw this afternoon from this game.
It was fantastic. It was absolutely, this game to me, I was telling my wife, because my wife was like, what are you all buzzing about? And I was just saying, this is the way football should be played. This is why sports is awesome. This is why football itself is the greatest sport in television. What the drama. I mean, I read it earlier in an article that Caleb Williams is the epitome of the reason why we watch football. And it with what he did in that fourth quarter on the last play, and I'm sure if everybody's seen it, but to be able to just run back 4th and what was it, 17 or I don't know, 4th and something.
Yeah.
And he just dropped straight back, and it's one of these,
20 yards, Brad. He dropped back 20 yards to
unreal.
The 40.
It's absolutely unreal.
And threw it while falling backwards off one foot with a full fadeaway jumper.
Yeah, yeah, and
Corner of the end zone.
I was glad, and he threw it blind. Like he didn't know if anybody was going to be there. He couldn't see, but he just threw it to an area. But it was a perfect, like, just teardrop type of ball. And it was just pandemonium. I was so glad it happened in Chicago, so those fans could experience that. And then you contrast that with the overtime. He's got the ball. All he needs is one first down. They're going to be in field goal range. He kind of goes for the gusto. The defense makes a great play, and they get the ball and are able to turn. I mean, Caleb Williams just encapsulated all of that, just the highs and lows of sports and the NFL. And if for somebody who didn't have a dog in the fight, I just loved seeing good football. And it may not have been the greatest quality football, but it was a great quality match. And it was just exciting football to watch.
Feel like if you're on Chicago's side, that it's really one that did get away, I suppose.
Yeah.
They dominated actually a lot of the stats, which is really interesting. I know that sort of last play that it's been replayed a million times, and I was watching that live, literally coming back from a lunch break, and I was in a meeting, and I had my camera on in this meeting as well. You just see my whole face. Like, what the hell was that? So I was like, you all right? What's going on there? They thought I'd frozen or something. Yeah,
That's
but I
awesome.
suppose it's a little bit how we sort of talked about in the preview where I sort of thought this would be a game where, in the end, I mean, I know Caleb Williams did sort of enough to get it to overtime and then push the game onwards, but it just showed you more so the experience. And I think if you're a Bears fan, today would have been like really could have been there. We could have gone the extra step, but I wouldn't be too upset about it because
No.
I don't think Chicago's going anywhere for a while. They've got their offense set. They'll pretty much draft all defense this year. It was a very unlike Caleb game. He threw 3 picks. He usually doesn't throw any in most of his games. So they'll probably have their heads up high. But I'll tell you what, an underrated throw, and it just shows the quality of how good Stafford has been this year. I think it was Isaac will definitely know, but the first down play that they had was about midway, and then Stafford makes this insane pass out to Devontae Adams, and looking at it from behind, it was such great anticipation. He actually
Yeah.
starts in line and behind with the corner, and actually comes out and takes it and toe taps on the side. It was actually incredible. I think it was in overtime. I believe
Yeah,
it was in
overtime.
overtime.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. It's almost as impressive as that Caleb Williams play, but obviously that one will get a lot more hype because of how far out he's backpedaling and everything like that.
And it was to send the game
Rams,
into overtime.
yeah, obviously, and I feel like the Rams will be feeling like this week. They've come out, they've come to a game that they never play in this weather at all. So to be able to come out with a win. They did enough compared to last week. No penalties, no turnovers. They played a very clean game, so they'll be pretty pleased with themselves as well. So, got a tough game coming up this week though, with overtime on a day less break compared to Seattle. So it's a big mountain to climb as well coming up.
Yeah, huge. And I think if you're Chicago coming off of this game, like what you said, Nick, you can't. Of course, you're disappointed, but you can't hang your head. You really can't.
Yeah.
You played. You got nobody at the beginning of the season. Anybody think that they would be, one interception away from getting to the conference championship? They would take that in a heartbeat. So, but you're right. Their defense stepped up in this game. It was
a good game by Dennis Allen.
Yeah, he called a really, really good game, and I think the weather helped them quite a bit. It was in their favor. Although you saw the way Loveland played. He played awful. He dropped so many balls, and I'll still go back to. I know I'm a little old school on this, but I felt like. And hindsight's always 20/20, and it wouldn't have unfolded the way it did. But I just feel like Ben Johnson left points on the board there.
That was gonna be my next thing.
Yeah, in that fourth downs, going for it. 3 times he goes for it on 4th down. He gets one touchdown, and the other 2 comes up goose eggs. So I was playing this scenario in my mind. I was thinking, okay, if let's say all 3 times he kicks a field goal, he's plus 2 points. And then they don't have to make this heroic touchdown catch, and it could be and in my way, the way I was playing it, they would have had a chance to go up by 1 and win the game versus having to get a touchdown if they would have, instead of leaving those points on the field. So I get the whole analytics and stuff, but sometimes I just feel like, especially in this cold weather, you gotta take points. You don't, especially I'm the opposite. I'm like, at the beginning of a game, I want the points, because then it puts me at an advantage psychologically, and I know where I'm coming from. I'm not as desperate. So that's especially when you're at home. So that's just a situational thing. That's me, and I know a lot of people disagree, but I just think take the points.
The box score on this between the 2 teams is phenomenal. It's nearly identical, but the big thing for me was, from what I saw, was it's those passing first downs. The Rams got a few more than the Bears did, but I think that's where the Rams succeeded here, is that they were happy for, whilst Stafford went a game without getting a touchdown. He didn't throw a touchdown in this game, which is very unusual for this season. It was more about moving the ball, and they were really happy to throw 5, 6, maybe 10 yards just to keep moving the ball, passing, and getting those tiny chunk plays, where the Bears did that on the ground. Their rushing plays in that were far better than the Rams were. So they did that. They moved that ball just that way. But you could tell, even though Stafford didn't throw a touchdown in this game, and those 2 touchdowns went to Kyron Williams on the ground, it was just that movement of the ball, and really just him controlling that game as best as he could in horrible conditions. Because I can't imagine playing in that kind of cold. You could see it on everybody's faces in between downs, just the how cold they were, standing on the sideline in between drives. Unreal. A couple of reactions. The first one is from our mate Michael Elliott, the Packers fan, and I need to make sure everybody remembers that. Thank goodness the Bears' luck finally ran out. The fans got very high on their own supply for winning their first playoff game in 14 years. So let's just all remember that Michael is a Packers fan. Steven Simmons said, Bears deserve to win. They were a strong team in the game. Spectacular TD throw. Look, I think both teams deserve to win this game. And we had to get a winner out of this game. There was always going to be somebody that was going to be disappointed coming out of this game. That's just the way it is. But both teams played so equal and so phenomenally. It was such a great matchup. And hey, the NFC so far this season has really served us up some spectacular matchups.
Absolute barn burners. And, I've watched this game my whole life, essentially. And I can't remember a more exciting regulation finish than that. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, when he against Buffalo, when he had
the 13 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Maybe that game was right up there. But just in terms of a singular play, I think this was the most exciting end of a game that I've ever seen for a singular play.
Absolutely. Righto, let's move on to our next game. I figured we would hit the other NFC game. What do you reckon, boys?
Oh, well, that depends on our other host.
I thought this was a matchup! Mismatch!
Yes, that is right, Kenny McIntosh. What a mismatch it was. We thought that the Seattle Seahawks versus San Francisco 49ers was going to be one hell of a matchup going into this game. Based on previous results, the 13-3 at the end of the season. But, oh my God, the Seattle Seahawks were 100% ready to play and ready to absolutely burn that stadium down to do it. 17-0 in the first quarter alone, including a kickoff touchdown return 13 seconds in the game.
Yeah.
The funny part is the memes were out there immediately that the Seahawks scored more points in the first 13 seconds. They need enough points in the first 13 seconds to beat the San Francisco 49ers than they needed in the rest of the game. But from that point onwards, the very battered, bruised, and injured San Francisco 49ers just had nothing to put up against this Seattle Seahawks defense. I don't want to go to Nick straight up because
fair enough.
We probably should. Nick, that's really what the tale is, isn't it? Is it that the 49ers were so injured and so beat up coming into the game that things happened early on in the game and there was absolutely no way to sort of claw that back?
From our angle, yes. Okay, we obviously came in with injuries. That's fair. Obviously, we had a lot of guys missing, and that had been the narrative, obviously, coming in to the playoffs, even last week. But the way I look at it is this, and I've had this discussion over the past, 24 hours or so with many of our fans, is that there were 5 key guys that were probably missing from this game. So you've got Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Micah Williams, who was our first-round pick, who was playing DT, who had a good year, Kittle, and then forgetting someone. We can include Brandon Ayuk, but he hadn't played the whole year.
You include Brandon Ayuk, but I saw from many 49ers fans went through that list and went, we had no Kittle, we had no Fred Warner, we had no, they went through this and they went, fuck Brandon Ayuk. So it's...
Yeah. So, you can include him, you don't have to, but are they, realistically, from all of those guys playing, would they be a 35-point difference in that game? I don't think so.
I wonder whether
20?
they're going to...
20,
maybe.
yes, not 35. It's not. And the thing that gets me the most is, what disappointed me the most is the healthiest unit out of all of our team, which was our O-line, was by far the worst performing unit.
Yeah, they were.
Because Purdy was constantly under pressure. It felt like watching Justin Herbert out there. And, Purdy had to obviously make some plays and everything, but I feel like a lot of it did come down to coaching as well. I know Kyle has had a good year, but this is definitely his worst playoff game that he's had ever for us. But it was more so, it was his worst sort of coaching performance that he's had for the full year. And the reason I say that is the very first play, obviously, we talked about the return touchdown. So my thing is, okay, they've got one of the best returners in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you kick it? First of all, why would you kick it to him? Second of all, why would you invite him out of the end zone to be able to do so? And third thing, Eddie Pinheiro, if you're going to take him out with a chip, full socket, studs up, in the knees, whatever, just make sure he gets down. Come on.
I also saw 49ers defenders tripping over each other to create the gap that he went through that last part of the line.
That wasn't good.
It was it was a total shit show for the 49ers on that play to start with, because you're right. It shouldn't have even gone to Shaheed's side. Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they signed him midway through the season for this exact reason, didn't they? So
yeah. And then we got to stop on this. Then we got the ball. And then we were able to get the ball to a certain spot. So we had a 3rd and 4th down, and it was 2 horrendously bad play calls by Kyle, because we were on the 3rd and very short one. Now, we have done QB sneaks the entire year. They've worked, I would say, 99% of the time, even with Brock Purdy. So he went away from that. He had a weird weak formation with Juszczyk, and then he ran it with McCaffrey going the other way. So that got blown up. So it was 4th and 1. And obviously that was didn't end up being controversial when McDonald had called the timeout right before we had the play, which actually turned out to be a conversion. But then he went back to that same formation and that weak formation, and then it was the handoff to Juszczyk. And then even though they had the same look of having the overhanging guys on the edge with linebackers and DBs, He
Yep.
goes, okay, now we're going to run an option play with McCaffrey.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
just sneak it, get the yard, just get on with it.
Yep.
So that was horrendous. So my take from our sort of side, it was embarrassing. I know we had guys missing. I would only really use that excuse if it was a close, like if it was 27-21, I could make that excuse, but 35 points, like there's no way we would have won those games with those guys. But look, Seattle, the one thing I will say about Seattle, coming off this game, and it struck me right between the eyes, is it reminded me a lot of an NFC Championship game from many years ago when we played the Packers, and it's like, God damn, the roles are reversed, and it's literally they remind me so much. They remind me so much of our team from way back then, because literally it's like an up and coming young head coach. It's a quarterback that's played all right but is unproven. You know, a running back that's really emerged. So you had Walker, and then we had Mostert, and then just an insane defense. So there's a lot of similarities, and it's a similar game style where they run the ball so well, and on defense you just can't move the ball. And you know, they're a big chance for the rest of the year. I hate to say it, but it's true. They are a massive chance on the last two games. Well, this week, and then, you know, potentially in 2 weeks as well.
Yeah. It's the one criticism I would have, because you guys know I'm a huge proponent and I love Shanahan, but my one critique would be like what Nick explained there, just in that play, that series. He gets too cute, and he thinks he's always got to go. It seems like in these critical situations, he feels like he's got to go against type, like he's always got to be creative. And I know it's that double-edged sword. That's what got him there, is kind of being creative and all this and that. But at the same time, in these moments, you feel a little bit like, okay, stick with what you know. Don't.
Yeah.
To me, this isn't high school. You can't do an option with your running back. That just does not work against elite level players. And it was to the boundary. It was to the short side of the field, to that specific play. And so it didn't make sense. But you got to give Seattle credit. They pressured Purdy, I think, more than at any other point in his career. Apparently, what did I say? 19 of his 33 dropbacks, he had pressure. So that's just you're not going to have much success with that. And then what happened to Pearsall? Do you know, Nick? Like, because he disappeared. I know they were talking about him, you know, and you even made mention of him coming into this game. But he didn't do anything in this game. Was he hurt and we just didn't know about it? Or I didn't see anything on that.
Maybe. The only time he really did anything was, well, the drop catch that he had that would have gone for a first. I think that was in the second or something. But apart from that, like, he got nothing.
Yeah.
But you're right. Very, very cute in terms of the sort of play calling and what we were wanting to do when, you know, when we had sustained drives, like even in that second quarter, we were just like, all right, chip away, 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards.
Yeah.
And even that fourth down when the timeout was called, like that was perfect. It was just this very small flood concept where they had Tonjas in the flat, and then they had Juwan Jennings that went to a 5 yard out, and it was perfect because it literally just opened up the space. He caught it, and obviously it was a timeout, so it didn't mean anything. But just that was the method going forward. There was no way we are going to smash them over the top or anything.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get the run game going again. So you are right in saying that.
I liked, for San Francisco, I liked the way Tonjas played. I thought he really stepped up and did what he needed to do. I was impressed with him. On the other
ankle.
Silly goes. Well, so on the other side, we've talked a lot about the 49ers, but we haven't given the Seattle Seahawks enough flowers here at all. Correct. Obviously, we talk about the defense being amazing. We've talked about Mike McDonald and his defense all season, about how phenomenal they are as a unit. They're number one defense in the league for a reason. That's where they are. They were better than the Texans coming into this anyway. But the offense not only did what it should, and everyone's been out there going, especially Vikings fans, carrying on about Sam Darnold. People are saying they didn't win because of Sam Darnold, but they didn't lose because of Sam Darnold. He did what he had to do in this game. He's one of the only quarterbacks across the entire weekend to have a rating over 100 to start with. And then he went 12 of 17 for 124 and a touchdown. Only 4 targets for the entire passing game, the entire receiving game for Seattle are missed. 12 out of 16 were so they were perfect throws. They were where they were supposed to be. They got caught by their receivers. Things worked. But then the big tail, obviously, is that running game and the Kenneth Walker legacy game. 19 carries, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker came alive in a massive way in a big spot to really just hammer this win home against the 49ers. And it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. Charbonnet went down with an injury, and it was just they just rode Walker, and it was unfortunate to see Charbonnet go down. I don't know what's happened, what the prognosis is with him. I know Cross, their tackle, also went out in the third quarter. He looks like he's going to be okay. And it's just going to be a management issue. But Charbonnet, whenever a guy's clutching at his knee like that, that's not good. But you're spot on about just the quarterback play. Darnold did what he needed to do, and they got the W. He played a good game. It wasn't great. It was just good, and that's what they needed. So it's okay to play within yourself, and that's exactly what he did.
As of now, Zach Charbonnet's knee injury says not serious.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's good.
So that's a little bit of mail out there. There's not too much out there, but I think we'll find out more about it in the next few days. But at this stage, not serious. Yeah. So yeah, phenomenal. We've got a few reactions from this game, mostly Niners fans echoing what Nick has said about the season, about the game as a whole. Things like Jamie Muldoon says Niners got further than we could have hoped with the injuries and departures we endured. Still sucks to go out like that, but effort, attitude, and coaching can only get you so far at the pointy end. You need stud players to do stud things. Hope all the reps and experience goes in the bank for a run in 26th season. Scott Rutherford said we were on borrowed time with all the injuries we've had this season. It finally caught up to us. And then we have one reaction from Elite Cox, which is essentially Seattle. Where did that come from? I think this kind of performance was in the more
I think if you watch Seattle,
but I think we were all expecting that 13-3 game again, and we were expecting that incredibly defensive game like we got last game out. It's just the way the tape went, and I guess Seattle having a bit extra time to sort of see what the 49ers were going to do, and that week off, that really, really helped them here.
Which that 13-3 game was a bit flattering as well. I mean, we spoke about it when we had the reaction, but very similar stats. The only thing that was really different was the scoreboard, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't one team being able to run away with touchdowns because the other was just basically playing Junior League at that point. All right, let's move on to AFC sides. We're going to start with the Texans at the Patriots. The New England Patriots win in Foxborough in the playoffs. Doesn't that sound familiar, Brad? 28-16 over the Houston Texans, who I think did what we thought that they were going to do again after their very slim win over the Steelers, where the offense just couldn't seem to get themselves together. And when that happens, it's very hard to score points, and it's very hard to keep anything going in what were truly horrendous conditions, absolutely flogging down rain at the end of this game, where there were shots of every coach on the sideline with full waterfalls off the forehead while they were watching the end of this game. One phenomenal catch by Kayshon Boutte in the end zone, one-handed, where even the commentators thought that it was just going to be an overthrown ball, and suddenly the right mitt goes out and he catches that ball. And the New England Patriots come up with the goods, 28-16. Brad, phenomenal game by the Patriots.
It was. It really, really was. And Texas credit to Texas defense. They showed up, but eventually they just ran out of gas. They just got worn down. They did what they could to keep it close and what have you, but there's only so much that you can do in there, and they were not helped out by CJ Stroud's just 4 interceptions in the first half. So the question needs to be asked, maybe not right now, but he goes 20 for 47, 200 yards and a touchdown, but is he the guy going forward for them? I don't think so, but I know that the game just ended, but still, I just think when you have such an elite defense like that, either that or you got to change your structure, because you can't let him decide the game for you. I don't think not. And I know the weather conditions were bad, but those 4 first half interceptions was bad. And New England defense played amazing as well. So you got to give them credit. They sack him 3 times, get 5 turnovers, defensive touchdown on a pick 6. But it's still, it's just, to me, that's inexcusable at this time of season. Hats off to the Patriots.
That first quarter, I was yelling at my phone. I wanted somebody on the Texans coaching staff to just go on and grab the kid on the sideline and say, calm down, take a breath, because it looked like every one of those early throws was too quick. Like he'd come out of the tunnel too excited, too hyped up, and it was just too quick. And he was overthrowing, he was underthrowing, and it was just like, you need to take a breath. Like, even with pressure in your face, you need to just take a moment. And it was like someone sitting down on the sideline and put whatever music he just calms himself to on some headphones and just say, sit, just chill. Yeah. Because you need to just... And
I would say the same for May a little bit, just in the sense of he had 4 fumbles, Drake May, and that could have turned completely different for them had he lost 4. Luckily, Will Campbell pounced on 2 of them, but it's a huge stage. It's easy for us to sit there, to say take a deep breath, but as a quarterback, you have to be calm. And I don't want to say you got to. Caleb Williams is the only one of these young quarterbacks I felt like that kind of did that. The rest of them got really amped up, and I felt like the moment was almost a little bit too big for him.
I think, well, we talked about it just before about Sam Darnold playing within himself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, it's not a great game. It's he was sort of the trailer, not more so the car pulling it along." But I feel like that would have been a perfect sort of situation for CJ Stroud in this game. Like, don't turn the ball over, just play clean.
Yep.
If you got to throw the ball away, throw the ball away.
Yep.
Pick up some yards with your legs. And it would have been perfect for them, because I think their defense still played well. The Patriots still played well, but I felt like this game was more about the Texans. They were able to turn the ball over, give the ball back, short yardage and everything, but they just couldn't take advantage. I understand that, no Nico Collins was always going to be, a tall task, but you can tell this is a team that plays in the dome and that plays in sort of warm weather. The last 2 weeks offensively, they've been fumbling the ball. They've been turning the ball over too much. And I think maybe it could have been a weather thing. But it's crazy. Like 24 months ago, we were singing the praise of CJ Stroud and, our first year going so well and being rookie of the year. I was messaging one of my close mates, a Texans fan, like literally saying, what should we be looking at quarterback this year? Like, should we roll the dice with Davis Mills? Should we try and trade for Willis or maybe Mac Jones? Or they're very hesitant to be able to re-sign him right now, and I don't blame them. And it's so weird that we're flaming, the Panthers for taking Bryce Young, but it's like, well, Bryce Young might actually be the better sort of guy right now. And
long term, it's just because it's just come. The production has come off, and the way everything that was happening in that rookie year, like where he's shone out.
Yep.
And you're right, because you can't have him look. Well, number one, you can't have him throwing 47 times in these conditions. I don't understand that. I look at this and I go, why do we have CJ Stroud throwing 47 times and Woody Marks after a 112-yard game against the Steelers, only rushes for 17 yards in this game. And I get that the New England defense was doing their job, and they are a really top rush defense, but this guy is a talent, and we've got him rushing for only 17 yards, and Nick Chubb for 14 of those as well. And we have CJ Stroud throwing for 47 times in a monsoon. Like it's just it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And you are right, Nick, with what you said originally. What they had, what Seattle had Sam Darnold doing, and just game managing and doing what he needed to do. That's exactly what they should have done.
100%.
And the defense was stepping up. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. sacked Drake May 5 times between themselves. 2 for Hunter and 3 for Anderson. And they get in there. They forced 4 fumbles, recovered 2 of them. So they're doing their job. And then you offensively, this is where I go, is it CJ Stroud? Is it a coordinator issue? As somebody, it's who's calling the plays at this point, because someone has to rein him in.
Yeah. And it sort of was spoken about last season about, with their offensive coordinator, they should move on and try someone else. But clearly CJ Stroud has regressed. And you can tell the difference between, draw back to that comparison between Stroud and then Bryce Young. Bryce Young's got the benefit of now having Dave Canales. And Dave Canales obviously helped with, I think it was Baker, and then now has obviously helped with Bryce Young. And you can see the improvement. You're just not getting that out of CJ Stroud, and that's why it is a bit tricky. And coaching and play calling and obviously offensive minds are a big thing with quarterback developments, because you see CJ Stroud and he's sort of pulled back a bit. Understandably, they don't have the same weapons, but you can see his gameplay just isn't the same. He doesn't have that same confidence. He's very rushed. It's not buttoned up. The details aren't there for the Texans offensively. They don't have an identity, and you could make the case. I know they were injured this year as well, but you look at with even Jaden Daniels, it was the same thing. He burst out on the scene, and then even when he was healthy, there was just games where it's it's just not quite the same. And sometimes with having these defensive guys, it can be a bit tricky with younger quarterbacks. And another example, again, we talk about Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson comes in, he's a wizard offensively. And the first it took 2 games to really be okay, they get used to one another. And now it's just, Caleb works the magic, and Ben, is able to draw up some great plays to get guys open. So it's a big thing that the Texans also have to consider this season. If they can go and get a Mike McDaniel, that would be maybe
the funny you say that, because that amazing season that we saw with CJ Stroud was under Bobby Slowick, who the Texans fired, and then he got hired by Mike McDaniel to be the passing game coordinator at the Dolphins. And then they put in Nick Caley for this season, and yes, they went, what was it, 12-5, I think it was, and they got a decent win-loss record out of that, but it wasn't. We all saw it. It wasn't because of the offense. It was in spite of the offense. Whereas, obviously Bobby Slowick's going to be out there now because McDonald's out, and the Dolphins are up for a new head coach. So, I don't know. Do you try and get someone back that he's more familiar with? Do you try and get? I think they need a change, because that's where it comes down to. It's who's calling these plays and who's making these decisions. But anyway, New England Patriots on to the big one. A few reactions from around Australia. Aidan Carroll, who is a big Pats fan. Foxborough turned on some awful weather. The game was a battle with so few first downs. Butte was with an amazing catch to seal the win. So glad to be back in a championship game. Was not expecting this at the start of the season. Go Pats. I don't think anybody was after 3-14 last season. Michael Elliott said the Patriots impressed again and should take care of Denver without Nix. We'll get to that. Stroud did not play well, but wasn't allowed to due to the Patriots playing great defense. Tim Straker, Patriots fans are about to be 2010s unbearable for the next few weeks. Good thing no one is stopping the Seahawks this season. So I think we can all agree that Patriots fans are going to be unbearable after this game because they are in a championship game with a very easy ability to go to a Super Bowl.
Oh, they've got the easiest path known to man.
They do now. So
Brad does know the news. Okay, we'll just confirm that just before we get to the next game.
About
We start
Bo?
teeing it off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to
Yeah.
that game. Let's move on and let's get to the last game, the most controversial one. It was the one that kicked us off this weekend. Buffalo Bills at Denver Broncos that went all the way to overtime, where again both teams possessed the ball and it ended with just a field goal to the Denver Broncos, 33-30 to the Broncos over the Bills. The Bills and Josh Allen came back in the fourth quarter to level it all up and to tie it up with some fantastic play, but it all amounted to nothing when they couldn't do what they needed to do, which is score during overtime. And unfortunately, what was an amazing game by quite a lot of the Buffalo players, it all amounts to nothing, Brad, in the end. But it was a thrilling game right through to the end of overtime.
It was as frustrating as it was thrilling. I felt like, and not necessarily because I was rooting for Buffalo, but it's just so many. I felt like so many things went wrong for Buffalo. I felt bad for them. And I felt like this is a case of Josh Allen trying to be a hero. When I felt like, and I know that's what's got him here, but every characteristic has a shadow side, and the shadow side to him is you saw it in this game with he gave up 10 points to him, essentially 10 easy points to Buffalo when he had that fumble in the end of the first half and then another fumble at the start of the second half. And it's just, I think he had 4 total turnovers. Allen did
3.
So 3. He had 3.
Oh, no, hang on, because he had 2 interceptions.
I thought he had 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles.
Yes.
So it's 5 total turnovers, 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions.
Yeah. And, you can't fault the guy. He got him there, but it's just, it was maddening to see all the mistakes and we can debate, and everybody has online, I'm sure, about whether or not that was really an interception in overtime. Was that in overtime? I forget, with the long pass to Cooks.
It was.
Yeah. And so to me, I don't think it was, but that's my slant on it, and I just, I just
funny.
The storybook.
Funny you say that, Brad.
Oh yeah, go what?
One of these receptions is called a catch, and the other is called an interception.
Wow, look at that. You're kidding me. That I haven't seen this. So that's
Devontae Adams at the top. Now, obviously, Devontae Adams caught the ball 2 feet down and then went to ground. The defender got their hand in here and took the ball away as they went down and they rolled on the ground. Versus the interception we saw here with Cooks, where the defender and Cooks both came down together. Cooks had the ball with the defender's arm in there, and the only thing that takes that ball away from him is as Cooks rolls across on his back over his shoulders, defender came over the top, and just the sheer motion, just actual physics of the defender coming over the top meant that the ball came out of Cooks's hand because the defender had hold of it as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen that shot, but just watching it in real
just
time.
Genuine physics in real time, and it goes so quick. But it is when you go back. The thing that annoys me about this is not that these two things are so the same. It's the length of time taken to review this in the biggest spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because New York was involved in both of these reviews, both of them, and they took their time with the Devontae Adams one. And could that be said is that they learnt a lesson from the day prior where they didn't take enough time for the Buffalo one?
But how many times do you see the NFL make these mistakes over and over and over? The head office, and it infuriates me. It pisses me off that it shouldn't come down to them, and just making these. Well, I'll call them silly errors. So I hate it when incompetence. I know that's a harsh word, but I feel like it's incompetence with the head office costs these teams games. Take your time, get it right on the field.
The thing that really pisses me off too is there was pass interference calls in this game as well. Both teams, both teams
later on.
But and they were controversial, but what it seemed like was that they were not getting called for the majority of the game. Like you could tell the refs were looking at it and going, they're both contested, they're both contested, they're both contested. So they were calling it right. And then we get to the fourth quarter. Which one was it, Nick? There was a defensive pass interference called on somebody.
There was two.
Yeah. And it was like,
yeah.
Yeah. And it was, we hadn't been calling them all game. And then suddenly we're going to call this ticky-tack thing. Rather than, like, there were ones that were clearly pass interference before. And you went, no, they were hand fighting beforehand. It's, it's even.
Yeah.
But, and that's it. You can't officiate one way and change it in the fourth quarter. It can't happen. And then when you get to the fourth quarter of a game that is this close and it's this important for a season, take your time. Like you've got, we're in an overtime situation where all these things are reviewed by officials, by New York. So they're mandatory reviews. Why are we not taking our time?
The crazy thing is that the Bills almost won the game and they had a -4 turnover ratio. That's, to me, that blows me away. You give up the ball 4 times in a playoff game, I'm saying you got no shot. But they hung in there.
And this is both sides. Like the Broncos played amazing. They played out of skin. And everyone will know that if they're regular listeners here, I'm not a huge fan of the Broncos, mainly because of their coach, but who meanwhile in the days leading up to this game proved himself to be a bigger jackass than I thought he is, by berating reporters again for asking valid questions. Like, cut it out, dickhead. But they played phenomenally in this game. They came to win. They came to win, but they came really prepared and they knew exactly how to attack Buffalo early on. And they went for the points, Brad. That was something you said earlier. Go for the points. Set yourself up with the points early on. That second quarter where they scored 17 points and outscored Buffalo 17-3, that was setting them up for the success here later in the game. Like, that's where they piled those points on. And they went for field goals. They got into field goal range. They knew where they could kick. They knew what McLaughlin's long field goal was. Will Lutz's was. And then they just they went for it, And then yeah.
Nick, you've been quiet on this game. What do you think?
I'm so amped up about this game just because of the dumb officiating. I hate dumb officiating. As someone who's been an official and a coach, I hate dumb officiating. It really pisses me off.
Well, you guys have covered off a lot of the officiating stuff, obviously a lot of the controversial stuff. So I'll go on the topic of another controversial stuff, and this is more so to do with the coaching. I'm a bit more of a fan of Sean Payton than you guys are.
Yeah.
But
I've wondered
this I've wondered this for so long, as to why teams do it. Now, obviously, what happened to Bo Nix is, completely astronomically low chance, right? But it's a chance. What is the point in having the quarterback kneel down right in the center of the hash? These guys are sinking field goals from 55 yards plus from whatever hash, right? What is the difference between that and sinking, it has to be right in the middle of the hashes for 30 yards? Because that was the play that got Bo Nix injured. So that essentially ended your season. I'm not just trying to disrespect Stidham here, but what's...
Jarrett Stidham hasn't thrown a pass in a game since 2023.
It's just bonehead. I just don't understand why. Yeah. And I thought Sean Payne actually, when they had that interception, that controversial one, the play calling down that stretch was really good. Like, he identified that their secondary was Like they're usually the number one pass defense in the league, statistically, the Bills. So
Yep.
in this game, they went after them. They absolutely went after them. And even down the stretch, he knew that. So like those pass interference calls later on, they got beat so many times. Like White went out for a bit, but he got beat. And I can't remember the other corner that got beat as well. Can't remember his name, but they pretty much essentially put themselves into a position pretty much just based off of them getting behind and then getting held with for PIs. So it's actually very well constructed, even though it was pretty much based on penalties, but they took their chances. And then they go ahead and do that. Now, one of the game, obviously, they made the kick and everything, but if Will Lutz misses a 30-yarder from the left hash, does it, the game rolls on. So, what's the point? So that was the most frustrating thing.
But Will Lutz was
then
also
we'll talk-
perfect up to that point, Nick. He was perfect.
Yeah.
And by perfect,
He
I
was.
mean center sticks every time. Didn't matter where he was, which hash, where and from what distance. He hit a 50-yard long, dead center. Like he was perfect. So you're right. What's the extra yard matter? Yeah. To get him out of that. Because I actually meant to bring that up a little bit with the Purdy situation in the 49ers game, is I was yelling at the TV and I was yelling at it at Manjot in the fourth quarter when they are getting flogged by 30 points. Why was he still in a game? Why are you risking Brock Purdy at that point? Because if you got him injured at any point there, you're out for the start of next season. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen with Bo Nix because it's only a broken foot, so the recovery time is a lot less. But you pop an ACL, you do you do any kind of ligament damage at that point in the game when it's dead. Come on, and you're right. That's it. A broken foot is probably the least of that could have happened in that scenario, Nick. Yeah, if he moves wrong, he possibly could have done a ligament, and then he is out for the start of next season.
Yeah, he will be. So that was one thing. So, but obviously, Sean Payton, the rest of the game was pretty good, obviously coaching wise. Let's talk about
to his
Sean
credit,
McDermott.
I'll give him the credit there. Absolutely, he was. That was the right way to play that game.
On the other side, Sean McDermott, I think there has to be some questions asked. I think this is it. We all knew that, Josh Allen made some mistakes. Obviously, we're not denying that. But we knew going up against a really good defense, particularly with that pass rush, he's going to have to roll the dice a few times. There's probably going to be some mistakes in there, but it felt like he did enough to maybe make up for it. Looking back at Buffalo the last few years in the playoffs, I can think of maybe one game in the last 5 years where I thought, Buffalo were really good defensively today. And it was a few years ago where they played Baltimore. I think it was in Buffalo and they won like 17-3. It was just like one of those low scoring games. I think it was back in, I think it was like a COVID year or something. And then the following week they got smashed by the Chiefs. That's probably the only time because, that 13-second game, they conceded 42 points. They lost to the last time the Bengals won a playoff game, it was 10-27. Obviously, 10 points by Josh Allen, but most of the time he's putting up points. The amount of times they're giving up 4+ touchdowns to the Chiefs. So even the Ravens last year, like if Mark Andrews catches that 2-point conversion, they might have conceded even more, even after that going into overtime. So, at what point is there going to be questions asked about Sean McDermott? They desperately need receivers. Holy
Buffalo's,
crap,
mate.
receivers,
I'm glad. Yeah, I was going to say that as well. It's not just Sean McDermott. There needs to be questions asked about Brandon Beane because there is no way this team should have gotten this far with the receiving core that they've got. I mean, we've got two tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox who are outscoring all of your wide receivers every single game. Khalil Shakir, he's in his 4th year, so do they pick up a 5th-year option on Khalil Shakir or not? Don't know. Ray Davis is only in his 3rd year. And then you've got James Cook, who is your star running back, scoring more passing yards week in, week out than Keon Coleman. That they should not have got this far without a star wide receiver, a number one, an out-and-out number one. And
considering that Brandon Cooks, who has been in, I remember him playing college ball at Oregon State. The dude's been in 12 years. He's been in the NFL, and he wasn't even signed until November. And he was your 2nd most targeted receiver. That's that shows you how bad it was.
Yep.
So
100%.
weird because across what they've got offensively, like they've got a really good O-line. Obviously they've got the quarterback, they've got a good run game, they've got the tight ends like you said in. And then we got to the trade deadline, and everyone knew it's like, okay, maybe roll the dice, spend the first round, and go get a receiver or something. They didn't do it, and obviously they let it go through the keeper. And I'm wondering, is it maybe because they were snake bitten because of how the thing went with Stephon Diggs in the end before he left to um, Houston, like because he was spitting the dummy about targets and everything. You can always go out and just get another guy. Like even drafting wise, Keon Coleman hasn't worked. Like you said, Shakir's been there for a while, so they need to invest. I think they need to go get a natural veteran. I don't know if you can always get a receiver in the draft. There's always receivers in the draft, but it just seems like they just struggled at it for so long. And since Stephon Diggs has left, they've just really struggled. They rely on their tight ends, and then obviously they've lent into the run game, which has really helped.
They need a more veteran wide receiver. You need to go in the draft and look for more guys again, but you still need that number one. You need a wide receiver one who is proven, because you can't come back next year and with this same again, because they did this last year. It's the same freaking receiving core. So it's not just Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's like his strategy, the way he coaches this team, the way he plays the game, that needs to be looked at and studied, because my God, you've wasted Josh Allen's time. And this, as we kept saying, was the perfect year for it. Biggest chance they had. And
it's not going to get any better, because they're going to lose a lot of guys on defense. And they're already $10 million over the salary cap. So I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah.
And like I said, and Brandon Bean you have to go, what decisions are you making in free agency and draft? Who are you signing? And traditionally he has done a half decent job, but every year we keep getting to this point and we're going, well, the Buffalo Bills have missed it again. And all these other guys in Allen's draft class have made a Super Bowl. Funnily enough, it looks like Sam Darnold might be the first one to actually win a Super Bowl in that draft class. But it's we're going to look at that. We're going to look in the off-season, post-Super Bowl, we're going to do a bit of an in-depth dive on every single team, all 32. So I can't wait till we get around to the Bills, because this is going to be a very interesting conversation about Buffalo and where they should go next. And do they even still have Sean McDermott as a coach by that point where we're doing that in-depth review? So let's see how we go. Anyway, Denver Broncos move on to the AFC Championship game, but without Bo Nix. Looks like Jarrett Stidham is likely to be the starting quarterback. I can't imagine they're going to do anything else. So it will be Jarrett Stidham. They're going to be working their asses off this week to get Jarrett Stidham to a point where they can do something in that game against the Patriots, because otherwise, as Brad said earlier, the New England Patriots have the easiest path to a Super Bowl that anybody has probably ever had in short memory. And then we also get a LA Rams Seattle Seahawks rematch, NFC West rematch for the second time in 2 weeks against two of the three top teams in that division, with one team to make the Super Bowl. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be so interesting. We're going to be in Seattle again. We'll preview those games later on in the week. We've got those two games to preview, and then it's going to be so good. So if you've got any thoughts out there on these two games coming up, on those conference games for later in the week, please do let us know. Drop some comments on social medias at G'day Gridiron on Facebook and Instagram, or search for us on YouTube. Just search for G'day Gridiron. You will find it there. Watch the video, please. Like, follow, do all that sort of stuff. Subscribe everywhere. Until later on the week, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you later.